chickadees. Welcome to today's lecture. I know that Miss Donahue assigned some coming of age ceremonies for you to take a closer look at. And I'm really excited that we kind of get to blend classrooms today and talk about culture, particularly folk culture and different parts of some ethnic religions when it comes to taking a look at coming of age ceremonies. So I'm going to make this a lot smaller. I'm doing something really meta today. I'm filming me and filming the computer. The computer's filming itself. Anyways, so my little face will be down in the bottom here. But I'm going to ask that you pay more attention to the slideshow below. Look at how fun this is for me. Okay, cool. So what we will be looking at here is some coming of age ceremonies. And I've just lost myself. There we go. So there's currently 1.8 billion young people around the world. That's a quarter of our population who are making the leap into adulthood. Yet young people can't mark a smooth transition to adulthood if they don't have opportunities to do so, such as going to school or seeking employment skills. So one of my questions to you is kind of, when do you know you're an adult? Like, how do you know all of a sudden you're an adult and not a kid or a young adult anymore? Like, what happens? Is there a magic shift? Do you get totally new clothes? Or do you all of a sudden have responsibilities? Do people treat you differently? And what would that count as? So there's a few like little sayings here about adulthood. It's like looking both ways before you cross the street and then getting hit by an airplane. Or that horrifying moment when you're looking for an adult but you realize you are an adult. When I first started teaching, I was 22, and there was one day when a student came out of my classroom with like a bloody nose, and it was just gushing everywhere, and like he just came running out. I shouldn't laugh. That's awful. I laugh. But he came running out with a bloody nose, and he was holding it. And I was like, what happened? He's like, oh, this other kid, blah, blah, blah. So I go back into my classroom, and apparently this other kid had popped him. And I remember like having this moment where I was like, all right, I need an adult. And then being like, oh, wait, that's me. I'm the adult. So you look for an older adult, an adultier adult, someone who is better at adulting than you. So I'm gonna pause here for a second to ask you, like, how do you know? Like, is it when all of a sudden a kid and another kid were fighting that you become the adult? What does it mean to be an adult? All right, so we're gonna jump into some moments in time where people are acknowledging that they are an adult. So in different religions and in different folk cultures, people acknowledge adulthood in different ways. So the first one we're going to take a look at is the bar mitzvah. So this is connected to the ethnic religion of Judaism, which, if you recall, is 14 million people. Between the ages of 13 and 12, and depending on whether the person is male or female, it's bar mitzvah. A young Jewish person will have a section of the Torah that he reads in front of his synagogue, and then he or she will, or they, will then go and have a party with a lot of friends, celebrating their transition to adulthood and also their choosing of the faith. Another one is from the Brazilian Amazon. This one is particular to males. And what this looks at is like, are you strong enough? Are you ready? Because adulthood can be really hard and can be this big challenge. And it's not always pleasant, right? Like, and it means that you're going to step up, right? In that scenario that I gave you earlier, like I was the one that was going to step up and step into the situation and take care and unpack with those young people, like why somebody had a bloody nose and how are we going to fix that so that we could learn together for the rest of the year. So all of those things. So in this one, the bullet ant initiation, bullet ants are one of the strongest and most poisonous creatures on the earth, and their stingers really, really hurt. And so part of the Amazon rainforest is that this folk culture that the men have to wear the gloves. I'm going to have us watch some of this video.
In the remote Amazonian village of Inhubei, the moan of the horns means a grueling initiation is about to begin. Several times a year, the Saturday Mawe Indians hold a painful 11-hour ritual in which boys as young as 12 must stick their hands into a pair of specially made gloves, each one infested with a swarm of angry, stinging jungle carnivores, giant tropical bullet ants. No initiate can be considered a true Indian, a warrior, until he has worn the gloves not just once, but 20 times. This afternoon, Ted Beltrow will wear the ant gloves for the first time, with 19 more to come.
People say that I don't have the courage to do it. I have, and I will do it.
The men face the prospect of getting stung even before the ritual starts, when they head off to capture the ants. A stab from this predator's abdominal spear is 30 times worse than a bee sting. The tribe's medicine man drugs the ants by soaking them in an herbal solution. But their stupor will only last long enough for them to be thrust one by one, stinger first, into the gloves. According to the Sature Mare legend, these menaces provide the perfect test of one's worthiness to take on adult roles. In less than an hour, the ants are awake. Trapped in the woven mitt, they writhe in angry desperation. They're ready to be inserted into the ceremonial gloves. One by one, each young man steps up to the sacred pole and submits his hands to the swarm. Their agony is unmistakable. To help distract them, the medicine man leads them in a dance around the pole. To be seen as a true tribal warrior, each must endure the ant's punishment for more than 10 minutes. With each sting, the bullet ant's neurotoxic venom attacks the nerves, causing paralysis and terrible pain. And this is only the beginning. Once the gloves are off, the stinging and burning will only grow more excruciating.
Okay, so that is one of the initiation ceremonies. So I'm going to ask you later on to kind of think of the themes of all of these. So again, they use this term test when they're talking about, like, are you able to withstand what is coming up? Are you able to withstand it? If you can withstand it, you're an adult. If you can't withstand it, you're not an adult. You're still a kid. And note that they're doing it with other people in their age group, just like that bar mitzvah and bar mitzvah. Rumspringa is connected to the Amish tradition, which is United States folk culture. The Amish tend to live in a very close, what they consider very close to God. So they don't use any electricity. They don't use modern day cars. They live a lifestyle that's very similar to living in the 1800s. But when children in the Amish community turn 16, they're asked to go and take part in the modern world. So they go out and maybe they have some parties, they dress in clothes that they wouldn't dress in the Amish style. And basically this is to test, like, do you want to be Amish? Like, if you come back from the modern world, you're choosing to be Amish. So even though you're born into it up until 16, there's this moment of coming of age. Like, are you choosing to be an Amish adult? A quinceañera is very common for South American and Central American girls. So it's Latino or Latina or Latinx tradition, but usually just for the girls. So they renew their baptismal vows in Catholicism, and then they basically have this big party for called a quinceañera.
Quinceañera is a coming of age. It's basically a girl turning into a young woman, and her parents are showing society that she is all grown up.
Most little girls dream about their wedding. Hispanics, most little girls dream about the day that they're going to turn 15 and become a quinceañera. And their mom is dreaming about the day that their daughter turns 15.
All the family comes. It's a very important way to bring people together.
You look very good in it. Aww.
Doesn't matter where you come from in the part of the world, we're all coming together to celebrate a quinceañero. So it doesn't matter where you come from because everybody loves a good party.
People from other cultures, they're intrigued by it. It's something that maybe they kind of heard about it a little bit. They see that it's a party, it's a celebration.
All right, so that's a little take on the quinceañera. So again, your family is there. There's this connection to religion, and it's also like you're ready. You're out in the world. And I'm going to pose this question to you. Do you think that being married, having a wedding, is a coming of age ceremony in the United States? I know a lot of folks think about it prior to even being in a situation where they would get married. So 16th birthday is very similar to the quinceañera, except for there isn't necessarily a connection to religion. So this would be more of an example of pop culture, that in the United States, there's usually a big Super Sweet 16 as an MTV TV show. People sometimes get cars from their parents. It tends to be kind of an upper class celebration because there's this thing around 16, right? You can drive, and somehow that is adulthood. Why do you think being able to drive is a marker of adulthood? I'm just curious. What do you think that is? So some people would say that being able to drive is an adulthood of markhood because we're trusting your independence. Like, I have the right to go wherever I want. I have a car. I can go wherever I want. And yet every day I still choose to go to work or go to the grocery store or do like these responsible adult decisions. And so that, do people not trust that before 16 you'll make those wise choices? I don't know. It's just interesting. In the North Baffin Islands, Inuit boys go into the wilderness with their fathers from the ages of 11 to 12. They test their hunting skills. There's a connection to the folk culture and folk religion there with a shaman, asks Inuit people to, or these boys, to get into connection with the land, to open themselves up spiritually to the animals. Nowadays, young girls also participate in it. And they do it as one big age group. Khatam al-Quran in Malaysia, 11 is a special birthday for Muslim girls. There's a prestigious ritual that goes along with choosing the religion and reciting from the Quran, because the Quran is meant to be recited. So they'll recite big swaths of it, if not the final chapter, in front of their family and friends. So land divers, this is in the South Pacific, a small island, land divers. The initiation happens in a range for boys when they're deciding to become a man, again, done publicly in front of a bunch of people within their age group. And it's this test. Are you willing to face your fears? Because in adulthood, you're asked to do that quite a bit.
The tiny South Pacific island of Pentecost is home to what may be the most dangerous test of faith in the world. Every year, village elders organize a ritual designed to secure the gods' favor. In a spectacular and frightening display called land diving, young men and boys, some just 5 years old, literally risk their necks. Only 2 fragile vines save them from crashing into the ground. It's the ancient precursor of bungee jumping. But here, it's considered a sacrifice for the survival of the community. Chief Willie Orion Bebe presides over his village's ceremony.
When they climb on a tower, they have no fear because it's their culture.
So that idea of having no fear, and in adulthood, like, you're probably going to have fear, but it's really about how you process it, what you do with that fear in that moment. Are you, as a young kid, you're allowed, when you're afraid, to start crying and have other people comfort you. But in adulthood, like, what are you doing with that fear? Are you making it actionable? In this case, they're asked to like face it and move through it, which is their marking of being an adult. In Japan, the Senghainyo is the second Monday of January, and it marks the special day in which So sorry about that. We'll mess up with the video. Um, Saijun no Hai is a ceremony in Japan, which happens in January. So it's similar to that, like quinceañera or Sweet 16, where women in Japan are introduced into the community as being 20-year-olds, as being of age, of being mature enough to contribute to society. And Jilin Li and Guan Li, in parts of China, there's this Confucian-based, which Confucian is ethnic like philosophy of life, where 20-year-olds are, dressed in fancy clothes and presented to society as adults. So all of those, we can see there is a piece of this coming of age, of being introduced into society as being a contributing member. And so what I'm going to ask for you is to think, like, what is the common theme? Like, even though there's all these different folk religions and all these different folk traditions, how are they similar and how are they different? And do you think it's necessary? Because in the United States, we don't spend a lot of time thinking about this adulthood as this like big thing that you're taking on. And if we don't spend a lot of time acknowledging it and celebrating it, are we doing you a disservice? Should you actually have a coming of age ceremony? And the reason we're doing this is all some pre-work for what you're going to read in Facing the Lion, so that you know that there's lots of different ceremonies all over the world in regards to this, and that the Maasai have a very particular one that they partake in. So you're going to read that in chapter 7, I believe tomorrow, with Miss Donahue, and I'm excited to see you all kind of bring in what you're learning from Facing the Lion into our culture unit. So miss you all. Again, so impressed with all the work you're doing.